Good afternoon and welcome to Refresh. My name's Carrie Overton and this week we're going to be talking about anger. So are you the sort of person who gets angry very easily, maybe blows your top and really loses your rag? Or are you somebody who suppresses all your anger and feels that you don't feel empowered to even express that you are angry about something? Or are you somebody who feels all your anger and lets it out in little bursts, in sort of sarcastic comments, but doesn't actually ever confront the issue? Well, hopefully in this session, there will be something in here to help you. So the first thing that's important to understand is that we all feel anger at times. It is a normal, healthy human reaction. And actually, it's a very healthy experience to have, because anger can warn you that there is something that you need to deal with. So just as if you have a fever, it is the sign of possibly an infection or something like that, your anger can be a warning sign that something needs to be dealt with. And just like taking some paracetamol might get rid of the fever but doesn't get rid of the infection, if you just manage your anger without ever getting to the bottom of what's going on, you will find yourself caught in a permanent cycle of, trying to manage it without actually ever really getting anywhere. So anger can manifest in lots of different ways, and sometimes you will feel the effects on your body. So things like raised heart rate, or perhaps you find yourself tensing muscles, or even sort of getting hot. Some people feel a sort of churning in their stomach, but start noticing what are the physical effects of anger on your body, because you can then maybe see that as a start of a warning that something's going to come. You might also find that there are mental effects of anger. So, for example, feeling on edge, unable to relax, possibly even feeling like you can't control yourself, or you might sort of think, oh gosh, this red mist is coming over you. And actually, one of the most common sensations to feel after an anger outburst is shame. And that can be very, very difficult to process. So start looking out. If you're not sure about your anger, start looking out for those sorts of telltale mental, emotional and physical experiences, because that could be a sign that you need to deal with your anger. So as I said, anger can be manifest in different ways, and that can depend very much on how you have learned to deal with anger. So your past may have a part in that. If you grew up in a household where everyone just screamed and shouted, that may be how you are, or it may be that you've gone the other way and don't feel able to express your emotion. But whatever way you do, it's important to know that anger is, you have a right to feel anger in certain situations. And it can manifest itself in, as we said, outward aggression. So shouting, could even be physical violence, but verbal violence. But there can be inward anger as well, where you turn your anger in on yourself. And that can be negative self-talk, self-harming, denying basic needs like eat and sleep. That can be just as powerful an expression of anger. And as we mentioned earlier, that sort of passive aggressive type of expressing of anger, sarcastic comments, ignoring people, deliberately spoiling a task or refusing to do something, all of those are signs of anger. But the important thing to remember is that whilst anger is this universal emotion that everybody feels, it is a secondary emotion. It in itself is generally a symptom of something that's underlying this. So it could be fear or loss or sadness. And that's really what we're going to start digging into in terms of strategies of dealing with your anger. So the first thing to do when you are experiencing a real sensation of anger is it's time for a timeout. Now, this can be really hard to do if the red mists are coming down. And that's why I said it's important to notice those feelings coming, and if you can, act preemptively. If you start feeling yourself getting angry and you sort of think, oh, actually this is really irritating me, I can feel that tension rising, that is the time to go. Don't let it be an itch that you want to scratch. Take yourself out of a situation. Stop and actually ask yourself, what is going on here? So although the primary strong feeling you may have is anger, what is going on underneath it? It's just like, if you imagine a sort of a pint of milk and you've got the sort of cream at the top, that's the anger. Skim that off and then find out, what is going on underneath. Because that shift in your awareness from anger through to what you are really feeling, what's fueling that, can be the start of sorting that out. So press pause. What is really going on? What am I actually feeling here? So for example, you may feel angry towards a colleague or a member of your family who you feel isn't pulling their weight, and that anger comes forward. Well, what actually is going on? Is it a fear that you are going to be saddled with something? Is it a sense of injustice? Is it a sense of concern or worry that you are going to be left to do everything and it's going to be a permanent state? Does it remind you of having your needs overlooked when you were younger and people taking you for granted? So what is going on behind the anger? And then think, what can I do to address this? So thinking about, in a calm and rational space, actually, and there's two important questions. Who can help me, and how can I help myself? So who can I talk to? Let's carry on with that example of somebody at work or at home not pulling their weight. Who can I talk to about this? Is there somebody you can ask for help? Or do you need to address it yourself? And if so, how are you going to do this? What do you need to say? Is it as straightforward as having a conversation with somebody and saying, I'm finding it really difficult to deal with this situation and I feel like a lot of the work is falling on me. How can we sort this out? Or it could be being more direct than that and saying, I would really appreciate it if you were able to do more. Could you get this task done or that task done? Or I would really appreciate it if you were able to do that. But once you've identified what the underlying emotion is, how can you address it? Who can help you? And how can you help yourself? And then give yourself space to calm down, to just breathe and take time. You don't necessarily need to act straight away. In fact, I would say don't act when you're feeling really angry, because that just escalates. Everything sorts of builds. Whereas if you can calm it down, slow down the situation and have that thought through discussion that you've planned for, that can really help you find a solution to the problem. And that's something that goes along with taking that time out, is in the heat of the moment, if you can press pause, which is, again, as I said, it's difficult to do, but if you can press pause in the heat of the moment, wind it back and just say, hang on, let's have some time out of this. Let's just have some space to think. And the final tip would be identify your triggers. If you know that there are certain people, situations, circumstances that anger you, again, ask yourself those questions. Who can help me deal with this? Or how can I deal with it myself? Hunger is real. Tiredness. In my family, we talk about the common denominator. If everybody's annoying you, the chances are it's you. So what can you do to fix that? Do you need some food? Do you need to sleep? Do you need some fresh air and a walk? So, take care of your anger, take care of your emotions. Change the narrative. If you are constantly rehearsing something in your mind, think, actually, I need a break from thinking about this, and maybe talk to somebody different. But those two questions, who can help me and how can I help myself, are really powerful to overcoming your anger, especially if you can find out what the root cause is. Thanks for listening. Hope this has been helpful. Do feel free to get in touch if you'd like some more information. Bye.